Good evening. Thank you for coming to our town hall. Just so you know, this meeting will be recorded, so you can check it out on our YouTube channel if you have any additional questions or need clarification of anything that was spoken about this evening. You just do the next slide. Thank you. Just easier that way. I'm Jeannie Snyder. I'm the borough manager. I'll be one of the presenters this evening. Along with myself is Steve Fickert. He's the public works director and electric superintendent for the borough, and Chad Camber. He is the borough engineer. Will be your three presenters for this evening. The elected officials for Hatfield Borough that represent the borough are Jason Ferguson. He is our council president. Rich Gerard. He is our council vice president. James Fagan. He is a council member. Michelle Kresser. She is a council member. Larry Stevens as the council member. Mayor Marianne Gerard as the mayor, and Mohammed Hegg is the tax collector. I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Gerard right now. She has a few words.
Thanks, Jeannie. I just want to welcome you all here tonight. Those of you who are in person and those that are attending virtually. There will be a lot of information for you to absorb here tonight. I hope it answers a lot of your questions and addresses your concerns. And there will be, it will be open to questions. Is that correct?
Question answer.
Okay, so if you have any questions, please feel free to, present them. Okay, thank you again for coming, and I'll turn this back to Jamie.
Great, thank you, Mayor Gerard. Next, I just want to go over your state and county elected officials. They're always available to you. They're always available to answer any questions. Senator Maria Collette, Representative Steve Malagary. We have Commissioner Ken Lawrence, Commissioner Jamila Winter, and Commissioner Joe Gale. We're also represented by Judge Ed Levine, who is available for, he has an office in Lansdale. If you come into the borough office, I'm sure you know a lot of our administrative staff. We have Katie Blahos, she's the assistant manager for the borough. Diane Farrell, she is the borough treasurer. And if you see noticing out front, if you're paying your utility bill, you're paying that to David Weiss. He's the utility bill coordinator. And Lindsay Hellman, she's the public information coordinator, and she's responsible for all borough events, all of our social media. We also have a great public works staff, and just pictured is Derek Stober, Ed Polineski, your public works director, Stephen Fickert, Jack Englehart, and James Baskin. The agenda for this evening, we're going to be covering a lot, and I thank you all for joining us. We're going to go over the 2023 budget, just giving some highlights of what was passed in 2023 and what this year looks like for us financial wise. We're going to be talking about electric upgrades, projects, and power outages. We're going to go over the 2023 projects. We're going to go into really detail about the utility replacement project, and that's the project that's going to happen on North Main, East, and West Broad Streets. As part of that project, we will highlight the private lateral program that we're offering to residents on North Main Street. We'll go over some traffic studies that took place at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. We will also talk about our 2023 events, highlighting our 125th anniversary. We'll also go over borough communications and some information resources. And as Mayor Gerard stated, there will be a question and answer period at the end where if you have any questions of items we discussed today, we'd be happy to answer those for you. So I'm going to start off with the 2023 budget overview. As you can see, these are our funds. We have a general fund, we have a fire protection fund, we have an electric fund, we have a sewer fund, we have a capital projects fund, we have a capital reserve fund, a sewer capital reserve, highway aid, or what I call liquid fuels, and then we have an ARPA fund, which is the money that we received for COVID. So as you can see at the bottom, we can see that we are running a $9.6 million revenue with a $9.4 million expenditures. Just want to highlight on our 2023, there was no increase to your real estate taxes in 2023. Your real estate taxes stayed at 2.5 mils. That means 3 mils for Hatfield Borough and 0.25 mils go directly to the Hatfield Volunteer Fire Company. We did have a small increase in electric. So over here, if you are a residential or a G1 customer, that is a small commercial customer, you are charged $15 monthly for a flat fee. That was a $3 increase from last year, which equals $36 annually is the minimum charge on your electric bill. For 2023, that's going to generate over $51,000 in revenues for Hatfield Borough. Your sewer increase, if you are a residential customer with 1 EDU, that is an equivalent dwelling unit, you are $5 per quarter additionally. It was $45, that is up to $50. That's $20 annually for a resident with 1 EDU. And that is bringing into Hatfield Borough $33,980 in additional income. Those together combine for around $85,000 of additional income for Hatfield Borough at the cost of $56 a year per resident. I always like to highlight estimated income on our valuation for the borough. If we would raise taxes $500,000, we would only be generating $68,500. So these small increases of $56 a year are getting more than a $500,000 increase in Hatfield Borough. These are just some highlights that I had picked out from our budget. As you can see on the left, I had taken your total revenues and your total expenses for our 3 major funds. That's the general fund, the electric fund, and the sewer fund. If you look online, you can see our full budget, and you can also see the account numbers that are associated. So your general fund is your 01 account. Your electric is your 07 and your sewer is your 08. If you're interested in looking at the budget, it's just easier to know what accounts are associated with what funds. So I put the revenues and expenditures for 2022 versus 2023. I will just go over some highlights. So our EIT and LST is up year to date in 2023. We had budgeted a revenue income of $425,000 that we would get from EIT and LST. And we are on target to surpass that $425,000. For electric revenue, or I'll go to the SEPTA property next. So if you're familiar with 11 North Market Street, that is where the wood burners used to be located. It was Salters. It's right down the street from the firehouse. Hatfield Borough is looking to go into a lease with SEPTA to lease that property. It's currently owned by SEPTA. What we would like to do for that property is develop it, work with a developer, bring some business into the downtown. As part of our budget this year, we have revenue income coming from a lease. So when we're developing that property, we're working for a developer to come into that property, fix it up, work with us to fix it up. What that looks like, we're a little bit unsure. We're going through the process right now of working with potential developers and consultants that could bring those developers to us. And the sooner we get it rent out, the sooner we have revenue coming back in for Hatfield Borough. I spoke about our electric revenue on a previous slide. We have increased meter sales, so we are getting more revenue for the borough through our electric. The reason we're doing that is we have gone to an AMI system. If you are familiar with the old mechanical meters, they were just a little bit inaccurate. We weren't getting the correct readings. Sometimes they were just a little bit slower and up. So now that we've moved to AMI meters, we have more accurate readings. You actually can go on a customer portal and see your usage every 15 minutes. So if you're interested in how much electric you're using or what your kilowatts are, you can go in every 15 minutes and get accurate readings for your electric. We're doing a lot of electric infrastructure updates that Steve will be talking about as part of his presentation. And we actually started paying back our borrowing debt for the AMI. We had taken that out in previous years and we added it back into this budget, and we are on year 3 of 4 of paying off the entire AMI system. I had spoke about the EDU increase on the previous slide, and as part of the sewer revenues, we have tapping fees for developers. So if you're coming into the borough, you need to pay us a fee to build your home, to tap into our sewer system, and that's bringing in revenue for Hatfield Borough. Next is capital projects, and that's Fund 18. and liquid fuels, which is Fund 35. A couple highlights for those specific funds is grant expenses and reimbursements. Chad is going to talk a lot about the H2O and PA Small Water Grant. That is associated with the East and West Broad Street and North Main Street project. We have an MTF grant right now that is going to address 2 crosswalks in Hatfield Borough. It's a crosswalk located at the intersection of Townhall Avenue and 40-foot road, right up the street from Vinnie's, right around there. We're looking to put a flashing crosswalk right across there for safe pedestrians and kids to get to school. We are also going to be looking to upgrading the crosswalk right out front at the Libertyville Trail. That will also have mast arms and flashers for people to cross the trail and hopefully make a safer route to moms, which everybody likes to enjoy in the summer. We are waiting on our Lincoln Avenue Bridge reimbursement grant. So if you're familiar with East Lincoln Avenue, we replaced the bridge. The project finished last year. We are working with the state to get $1 million back in funding that we had paid for that project. We are also received our CDBG money this year in the total amount of $200,000, which we finished that project on Orchard Lane and received that grant reimbursement. We have included in our capital projects our ADA and curb ramp replacement project and our mill and overlay project. In previous years, they have come out of our liquid fuels accounts. Right now, Hatfield Borough is trying to build that account back up. We have used it for these projects in the past, and we're just trying to build that account back up to be able to do these projects in the future. Concrete and sewer work also comes out of capital projects, and we're looking to do a comprehensive plan for Hatfield Borough, what Hatfield Borough looks like in 2023 versus what we feel Hatfield Borough might look like in 2040. Talking about development, talking about revitalization, talking about our downtown, talking about bringing people into the borough and experiencing the borough. I also wanted to highlight that we did receive a $200,000 stormwater grant. It's a joint grant with Hatfield Township. We all know since Ida came and we have had a lot of rain and a lot of precipitation in the area, everybody has stormwater management problems on their property. That is probably one of the biggest concerns that Hatfield Borough residents bring to myself, the engineer, and the public works director. So we're working on a grant that we received with Hatfield Township, and we will be doing a feasibility study with Hatfield Township to address stormwater issues in the township, which could possibly impact the borough because water runs from the township into the borough and then back into the township. We're that small donut hole inside the borough. So we're working with them and working to find out where any of these issues are and what we can do to address these issues. I will note that that grant is no match to Hatfield Borough, Hatfield Township. That was $200,000 that we received from local gambling money that is provided by the state. And as I said before, we're trying to build up that liquid fuels account to do future projects. Roughly, we get an estimated $80,000 a year from the state for liquid fuels. That money is based on miles of roads that we have. So that's directly coming from the state. And next, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Biggert, the Public Works Director. He'll give you some upgrades, electric upgrades, projects, and power outages.
I'm taking my.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Take a picture. You're not going to see this very often, I promise you. No, nobody died. So tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of fun stuff, public works, electric oriented. I always love to harp on the electric system. It's kind of my pride and joy in this town. So we have done a lot of electrical upgrades in the past 6 or 7 years. I really love talking about them because, like I said, it's my pride and joy. It's what I live for. These are all the biggest ones we've done. It's not the only ones, but it's the most impactful ones we've done, the ones that have given us the biggest yield. The upgraded reclosers are located back behind Mom's Water Ice. It's kind of like our central hub for our electric station. A lot of people would call it like our substation. It's not really like a substation. It's our interconnect with PP&L. The reclosers are they're broken up into thirds. So the entire town is broken up into thirds as far as who is on each recloser. The reclosers and the sectionalizing fuses are similar to like circuit breakers in your home. Consider the recloser as the main breaker and the sectionalizing fuse as a 20 or 15 amp breaker that addresses smaller areas within the home. The sectionalizing fuses, I'm going to talk more about that in the next slide. The electric meter upgrades, as Jamie was talking about, these have been so beneficial for us, not just for capturing lost income from slower old meters that we're not reading correctly, but as far as giving us ideas of power outages and when we're getting them, where they are. I get instant text message and email alerts on my cell phone as soon as a meter loses power. And it gives me, where it is exactly. So it helps me pinpoint where the outage is. And by the number of text messages I get, helps me identify ahead of time what the problem could be. So I don't even have to be in the country, and I could already start figuring out what is going on and making phone calls. So it also increases our, response time to these outages. The pole replacement and pole inspections, this is not necessarily new, but it's being pushed more this year than it ever has in the past. We've really tried to start looking at bad poles that we know are bad poles, that are rotting, that are leaning, that are potentially ready to fall over, and replace them before they fall over. I mean, if they fall over, they don't fall over on a Monday morning at 7 o'clock. They fall over on a Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where you're paying people double time and you're taking outages. If we can identify these poles before they fall over, a lot of times we can replace them without an outage at all. The pole inspections is something that kind of came up last minute for us this year through the PMEA, the Pennsylvania Municipal Electric Association. Sorry, got a little winded there. Talking too fast. A bunch of us through the PMEA group went in with a company to get some pole inspections done. We did about a quarter of the poles that we have in our town. And it's just a third party, somebody totally separate that's really has no interest in making money other than the job they're doing, to help us identify poles that we may not be able to see or tell that are bad just from outside inspections. The tree trimming, which I'll note, has started today. They started on West Vine Street down by Coffle Road. I would expect they're probably going to be here about 2 weeks. They're doing a maintenance of 15-foot clearance around all the primary high voltage lines through town. That has been a huge upgrade as well. We've done it in years past, but we've never gotten the entire town done. The past 4 years, we've had the entire town done twice now. So we're basically not at a trimming area, we're at a maintaining area. We're maintaining the cutback that we have, and our outages caused by trees and tree branches has gone down, I would say probably 99%. I mean, we hardly ever have outages, major outages caused by trees anymore. The animal guards, look, this is a sore topic for everybody. We have done our best, and we're only as strong and as good as the animals that decide to basically take out our town. Every time we put up items to try to prevent them, they find the weak spot and get around it. So it's an ongoing thing. As situations happen, we address them and try to make sure that they don't happen again the same way. The infrared testing is something that's been happening longer than I've been here. It's driving around town with an infrared camera, looking for hot spots on the transformers, on the connections, on the primary lines. Hot spots identify loose connections, which short out, burn out, and cause outages. So we've been doing this for years, and we've been making repairs as we find needed. And the behind the meter generator, we'll talk more about that in a couple slides. So the next one is the projects. Like I said, I already talked a lot about the pole inspections, the condition of the poles. And one thing I didn't really necessarily say was to prioritize the poles. I could look at a pole and say, that looks like it needs to be replaced, but the actual pole inspections could say, it's leaning a little bit, but it's really not that bad a condition. You'll get 15 more years out of it. So it helps me identify what priority we need to replace these poles on. I'll just skip right down to the sectionalized and fuse because we kind of beat the pole replacement to death. So like I said, the sectionalized and fuses, I always talk to them about like circuit breakers in your home. You know, if you're, not me, I don't have much hair, but if my wife is blow drying her hair in the bedroom and she trips a breaker, it trips the breaker to the bedroom and maybe my daughter's room. It doesn't take out the whole house. It's the same concept with the sectionalized and fuses. Anytime we have a single spur of primary branching off, there's a fuse on the pole so that if there is a fault on that single spur, it should take out that fuse and only maybe a road or two of people will lose power instead of a third of the town. So it's one little upgrades like that that really help limit who sees outages and how often they see them. The behind the meter generator has been a very hot topic over the past few years here. It's been a long going process to get this thing finally commissioned through PP&L. It is 100% online, ready to go. It was activated this past winter for peak shaving, and I will highlight that is the main purpose of this. There's been a lot of information that this will never have another power outage again because of this generator. That is totally incorrect. I don't know where that came from, but not factual information. Our procedures to operate this for loss of power is the most important one is a loss of power from PP&L. If, and I relate, Jamie and I always talk about a Hurricane Sandy. I don't know everybody in the audience or how long they've been here, but if they've been here through Hurricane Sandy, after the power went out, all of our repairs on our lines were done within 4 hours. We were out of power for 3 days. We were done. We were ready to go in 4 hours. We were waiting for PP&L to make their repairs to power us up. So that is a situation where we could turn this generator on and backfeed power into our system to bring our residents back up and running. The procedures that we have set in place as far as timeframes, because we have to have something. We can't just say, okay, if the power's out for an hour from PP&L, we're going to fire this up. We have to have some kind of procedures and something set in stone as to timeframes. So what we've come up with is after 6 hours of not having power, that's 6 hours of our power off from PP&L and PP&L estimating to us that it will be about 8 hours until their repairs are done, we will turn the generator on. Because when Hurricane Sandy happened, they told us numerous times, it'll be up in a few hours. It'll be up in a few hours. 3 days later, the power came back on. So we're not taking everything we hear to heart. We're taking it with a grain of salt. So if we know the power is out for 6 and they're saying it's going to be about 8, we'll turn the power back on with our generator. I did highlight the bottom. It is not able to power the town if there's a fault internally. And that's important because the way the wires, and it gets a little technical, so I'll try not to make it too bad. The way all from the generator, the wires, the way they travel back to where we have to distribute the power going out to the 3 circuits, the runs that it has to make, if there is an outage internally, and we still have power from PP&L, we can isolate where the outage is, where the fault is. As long as the power is coming from PP&L, say it's on, I'm going to make this up. Say we had an outage last year on East Broad Street by the old Hanson building. Tractor trailer took down a pole. I think the whole town went out of power, if I remember correctly. We had 2/3 of the town back up and running within an hour or two. Easy enough. We were able to isolate the outage even more by sectionalizing fuses, air brakes, different devices that are in place that we can open and isolate the outage itself so we can still get a majority of the people back up and running. So if anytime there's a fault within the borough, we cannot use this to power up the town. Also because most of the time we'll have it back up and running with a couple hours anyway, so we won't even be at that 6 hour minimum. So this is something that I really personally take to heart. It's actually our reliability that we have. And we've caught a little bit of heat recently with, outages every couple weeks, and I don't know where that information comes from. Everything to the left is basically a borough-wide outage. If power was lost to the entire borough, not just one section, not a third, not a street, not one customer, all Hatfield Borough goes out of power. The top left is the number of times per year that has happened. And the bottom shows out of the 525,600 minutes in a year, that is the percentage of those minutes in the year that you have had power. Not had power. Let's get that straight. And then the one on the right, top right, is circuit by circuit. So we have 3 different circuits, like I said, number of outages, and I stated which circuit, because each one is named, and how many times that circuit has lost power in that year. And also the percentage of the time that the power was on in the year. So it's basically our reliability that we have is almost 100%. And I'm not going to leave this town until we see a couple years at 100%. That is my ultimate goal. So the 2023 projects, we have others going on, but the 2 that we do every year is our ADA handicap ramps. The other one's mill and overlay, which I'll get to next. So this year we're doing West School, Jean Drive, and J Drive, updating the handicap ramps, making them ADA compliant per state laws that we have to do every time we resurface a road. So this year, the contractor that won the bid was Albert G. Cipollone Jr. and Sons Incorporated. Got it without messing it up. We budgeted $68,000 at the beginning of the year for this project. The bid came in at $61,400. So everybody loves bids coming in under what you budget. It's rare this time of year, this day and age that happens. So that is actually expected to start, I would say, in about 3 weeks or so. June 1st, I think, is their scheduled start date. And then next we have the mill and overlay. Once again, something that we try to do every year, just to keep up on the roads and keep them nice. This year we're doing East School, Forest and Orchard. Jamie kind of touched on the sanitary sewer replacement that we did on those neighborhoods. All the infrastructure has pretty much been upgraded. We felt it was fitting. There's been trench repairs that have been there. Besides them, the roads just aren't really holding up as we'd like. We don't know who's got the bid yet because we didn't get the bids. We had our pre-construction meeting today. I'm sorry, a pre-bid meeting today. We are going to have the anticipated bid opening on May, not anticipated, is the bid opening on the 24th of May. So we'll know at that point roughly who was the lowest bidder. We still need time for our contractor or our engineer to tell us for sure that all of the paperwork is in line. We budgeted $109,905,000 for the job, hoping this one comes under bid like the ADA ones did as well. And like I said, we don't know what the cost is because we haven't gotten the bids. And that's it for me. Next up, Chad Camburn, Versage Engineers. Got some stuff? Yeah. Want this left?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, good evening. I am Chad Camburn. I work for a consulting company called Versage Associates. We're in Pottstown. I am local. I grew up near 5 Points in Montgomeryville. I know this area very well. Went to North Penn, graduated in '95, so this is my hometown here. Which means I understand the impact of this project. And I'm sure most of you have probably heard that there is a project that's going to happen on the East and West Broad Street and North Main Street, but you may not know exactly what it is. So I'm here to tell you exactly what it is. We will be replacing the entire storm sewer system in West Broad Street and East Broad Street from Tellman's and Avenue all the way to North Market Street. We'll also be replacing the storm sewer system in North Main Street and only a little bit in North Main Street, roughly in front of the post office. And we'll also be replacing the entire sanitary sewer system in North Main Street from the Borough line to Broad Street. Putting some numbers to this, it's roughly 4,500 lineal feet of storm pipes of various sizes. We have 18-inch pipe, we have a huge culvert coming across this Broad Street that is collapsing and needs to be replaced. Roughly 40 structures, and those structures include inlet boxes, manholes, underground junction boxes, which most people don't even know are there. Most of these structures are hand-built, at least the junction boxes are. They're stone, there's some brick, they're kind of cobbled together. Certainly they aren't current standards. So they're going to be replaced so they don't continue to deteriorate and collapse. The sanitary sewer is roughly 2,000 lineal feet. That includes main, 8-inch main, and includes the 6-inch laterals that go to the properties. We'll be replacing them to the right of way, which is roughly back a sidewalk. There's 10 sanitary manholes that will be replaced, again, on North Main Street. And along with this, North Penn Water Authority is going to piggyback on our contract. And they're going to replace the entire water system on West Broad Street from Talmadge Avenue to Main Street. So that's what we're doing. Question is, why are we doing it? So I'm sure you've all seen on West Broad Street, up near Vinnie's, this barrel here with the light that flashes. There's a steel plate that's on top of that. Why is that there? And that's been there for a couple of years, right?
7 to 8 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's there because it's covering a large hole. And that hole is roughly 4 feet long, 3 feet wide, 3 feet deep. And that hole was caused because there's corrugated metal storm pipe underneath the road. Well, there used to be. It's gone. It's completely deteriorated. And that created the stormwater rushing in, eroding out the ground underneath the road, and ultimately caused this sinkhole. So seeing this several years ago now, the borough decided they wanted to televise the rest of the storm sewer, see what other problems there are. And in doing so, we found that there's a lot of pipe that isn't necessarily missing, but it's getting there. So there's a lot of corrugated metal pipe under the street. A lot of it's deteriorated. Some of it's been patched. We've seen street signs patching these. It's a hodgepodge of old and outdated materials that are going, and they're going quickly. On East Broad Street, this picture doesn't do it much justice, but this is cracking, it's settling. It's essentially a trench that's forming, certainly where the tires of the vehicles are driving, and is also coinciding with the storm pipe. So we know the storm pipe's collapsing. We know the underground is deteriorating, it's getting washed away, and over time, this is just going to get worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get better. So the borough approached PennDOT many years ago. I think this first came to my attention in 2012. About repaving the road at some point in time, which they will be doing soon. But we said, why are you going to repave the road when it's just going to continue doing this? The structure of the road is bad. So there's no point putting a Band-Aid on it when it's going to continue to go bad. So we started doing work on survey in 2014. Okay. We didn't complete it, but in 2015, the budget was pulled for budgeting purposes. It takes a lot of work to get this done. And then in 2019, we came across an opportunity to get grant money. And there's a whole bunch of grants out there, and certainly you're not guaranteed. There's a lot of competition for these grants. But there's one called the PA Small Water and Sewer Grant and the H2O PA Grant. They're both funded by the Department of Community and Economic Development, which is a subgroup of the Commonwealth Financing Authority. The borough decided to put a grant application together for each of those 2 grant opportunities, and we were awarded it. We were awarded $423,000 and change for the small water and sewer, and $670,000 and change for the H2O PA. Small water and sewer is a funding for water and sewer projects. In this case, it doesn't have to be potable water, like the North Penn Water Authority. Water in this case includes stormwater. So that's why we are eligible for it. And the H2O is, again, stormwater. It's 2 separate funding. It comes from 2 different sources, both from the Commonwealth Financing Authority. So in 2019, we were awarded the grant, Borough was awarded the grant. We started to work on surveying. We completed the surveying, we did the design work. We did a lot of coordination between all the utility companies, North Penn Water Authority. We reached out to them at this time and we said, hey, we're going to be doing this job in Broad Street. While we're doing it, are you interested in or considering replacing your water system in the street as well? Because for a number of reasons. This is going to be a huge impact to the community. If we're going to impact the community for the stormwater project, it makes no sense for you to come back a few years later and do the same thing for your water project. Two, it certainly makes a lot more sense to do a project of this scope all at once. We can get a detour in place, PennDOT's agreed to a detour. And three, there will be some overlapping work that's done between the paving and the detour work. There's some opportunity for cost sharing. So it's a win-win for everybody. Water Authority came back and said, great, we've been thinking about doing this anyway. We didn't know when we were going to do it, but this is the perfect time to do it. So things worked out very well. So fast forward 2022, 2023, we were ready to bid this project. We had all the work done. We reran the numbers, and what happened from 2019 to 2022, COVID. Anybody who's familiar with the construction process, who's bought anything in this period of time, prices went way up. Specifically, prices for plastic, and the pipe that we're putting in is HDPE, which is made out of plastic. The PVC, it's called SDR pipe, is the sanitary sewer pipe. That also went way up in cost. So we discussed it internally, and we said, hey, there just so happens to be those same two grant opportunities this year, 2022. The borough decided, you know what, this is a huge expense that we weren't anticipating. Nobody could predict COVID. We have an opportunity to get these grants, or at least apply for them. Let's go ahead and do that, and we'll push the project back a year with the hopes of getting these grants. We don't know if we'll get them. The awards should be around the end of summer. September or so is when we anticipate the awards being. CFA has a tendency sometimes of skipping meetings, so sometimes they just cancel meetings. So they might miss a month or 2 months. But we were told roughly end of summer is when we should find out if we were successful in getting these grants. If we were, we'll give you the schedule that we have, and this is a little tentative, keep in mind. If we're successful in getting the grants, we anticipate advertising for bidding by the end of this year. Okay, so when the grants are awarded, it usually takes a few months for the paperwork and the agreements to get in place. We can't bid this project until the agreements are in place between the borough and the CFA. Again, assuming that, or hoping that the grants are awarded. So we would bid this out by the end of this year, 2023. We anticipate construction would start around April of 2024. PennDOT has a moratorium on any work in their roads, and East and West Broad Street are both PennDOT roads. No construction can take place in a PennDOT road between April and October, or I'll say November. So April to November is when you can do the work. In the wintertime, you cannot do work in the PennDOT roads. North Main Street, on the other hand, is a borough road, and the contractor can start working as soon as the borough allows them to start work. Now, with COVID and some things that happened in Texas a few years ago, materials are difficult to obtain in the last couple of years. So I do a lot of contract work. We do a lot of bids. Supplies are difficult to obtain. Some contractors are telling us up to 6 months to get large quantities of pipe, specifically plastic pipe. So that's the unknown right now. We don't know when they can get the material. The ductile iron that will be installed for the North Penn Water Authority's pipe, that's relatively available from what the North Penn Water Authority has told me. So that work, as soon as April hits, most likely can get started. And this will have to be staged, obviously. And again, depending on, I believe the sanitary sewer pipe is easier to get than the stormwater. So there's potential to start in North Main Street as well. I mentioned that PennDOT has allowed a detour. That's for good reasons. One, for safety. Okay, we're going to have the road dug up on both sides because you have cross pipes. The majority of the pipe is hugging the curb line, but there are a number of cross pipes which will take up the entire road. Really, the majority of it is the North Kent Water Authority's water lines. They have water lines, service lines that, access all the properties, and there are a ton of them. Every time they have to go across the road, obviously you can't get cars through. So PennDOT allows detours to start at 9 o'clock a.m., road closures to start at 9 a.m., and they require them to be back open at 3. We are hoping to get an extension on that. We're hoping 8 to 4. Because PennDOT also requires the trenches over these pipework to be repaved every single day. Not permanently paved, but 2 inches of what they call a cold patch or a warm patch. So the more time a contractor has to spend patching the road every day, that's less time they have to install the pipe, which extends the time frame of the project. And certainly we want this thing started and ended as quickly as possible. So we've been working with PennDOT for the last 2 years, where the HOP, the highway occupancy permit, is pending. We believe we have everything that they require for us to do. The final touches with how much of East Broad Street is going to be paved by the borough versus PennDOT. PennDOT had this on their 5-year plan to repave this year. Actually, I believe it was last year. They've agreed to delay that because they're not going to pave a road and then have us dig it back up. So once we're done, I believe they will be doing some patchwork this year, but it won't be the permanent paving. Once we are done with our project, hopefully the end of 2024, they're going to then come in and finish this paving. We've approached them and asked them to see if they could repave this road as well. They certainly aren't going to commit to that. It's not on their 5-year plan. And if it's not on their 5-year plan, that means they have no intention of doing it. We can request that they put it on. It's a request. There's no guarantees. Right. So I mentioned the funding. Those are the 2 grants that were awarded, 2 grants that we submitted for. The rest would be funded by the borough. And again, these are estimated numbers. We won't know until we go out to bid and we get the real numbers. But we're estimating roughly $925,000 of borough funds if we get the additional grant funding that we asked for. And if we don't, if the budget comes in as our cost estimate hits. So moving on to North Main Street and the sanitary sewer system. The borough is aggressive in identifying sources of stormwater that get into the sanitary sewer system. Reason is, anywhere stormwater gets in the sanitary sewer system creates additional problems because there are potential overflows by overloading the sanitary sewer system. And even if there aren't overflows, all that clean water is going to the treatment plant, which the borough then has to pay to clean. Makes no sense. You're cleaning essentially clean water. So I&I, inflow and infiltration, is a huge problem everywhere. I do a lot of that work. Every municipality has this problem. Most of them aren't nearly as aggressive with the borough in trying to fix it. So kudos to your borough council and your staff trying to be aggressive and proactive in addressing this problem. These are actual pictures. So we televise the pipe, or we have a contractor televise the pipes. These are, as you can see, North Main Street in Hatfield. So this is yours. I didn't pull this as a stock photo. This is a real picture of the sewer system. Those are roots. This is the common problem. Trees need to find water, and anywhere they can find water, they're going to go there. And sewer pipes are a source of water. So anywhere there's a crack, you're going to get roots into. Most of the pipes are clay. So there's a crack, you're going to get roots in them. And once the roots find it, they keep growing and growing and growing, causes backups, and it's also sources of I&I, inflow and infiltration. Another problem is grease buildup, which we see in a lot of laterals. That's obvious, what that's from. That's not necessarily an I&I problem, stormwater problem, but it is certainly a backup problem for the property owners. You get your sewage backing up into your houses, which nobody wants. So this is a picture. It's hard to see, but right here you can see a stream of water. This is, I'll say, a moderate leak in the the sanitary sewer system. Sometimes you just see what they call gushers, and water just pours in. There's a number of ways they can be fixed. You can put in patches, you can put in grout, you can dig it up and replacement. Anything short of replacing it is just a temporary fix. It's gonna pop back open. So again, with the opportunity that the borough has with the grant funding, they're going back and replacing all the sanitary sewer in North Main Street. This picture on the left, again, I'll say I-9 inflow and infiltration, stormwater getting into the pipes. This is just different sources so you can relate to your house and the public system. In the private system, there's a number of ways that stormwater can get into the sanitary sewer system. One is roof drains. Believe it or not, there are a lot of houses that have their roofs connected. They were built a long time ago, back before it was illegal. Nowadays, it's illegal. We encourage everybody to go and inspect their house if you think you may have your roof drains tied in. You're not gonna get in trouble. We understand it's a historic problem, but we do ask that you cut the roof drains off and have it run just like a regular downspout would into the yard. And we can disconnect that direct inflow, and that is probably the biggest source as far as volume of water. Imagine all the water that comes off a roof and goes directly into the sanitary sewer system. That's a lot of water. Another source is broken building sewer. Some people call it a lateral. We call it a building sewer, which is a 4-inch pipe from your house that connects to the public 6-inch lateral that ultimately connects to the sewer main. So breaks in those pipes, just like any other pipes. A lot of them are either clay or cast iron or ductile iron. Again, they can be televised by sticking a camera down. The Public Works Department has a nice camera. They just recently did one. They did a great job with it. Foundation drains. A lot of houses have those connected as well. Some pumps, a ton of water gets into this, some pumps. Your clean outs, if people are tired of mowing over them, sometimes, or mowing around them, sometimes they'll cut them down, flush with the ground so they can mow over them. Anytime you have that, the water from the ground goes into those. They should really be 6 to 9 inches above ground. I understand it's a pain to mow around them, but it's more of a pain having a sewer backup. And then root intrusions, as the picture showed you. Those are the private areas, public system, the same issues. Mostly you have manholes that have cracks or breaks in them. The majority of the infrastructure in this borough is old. It's hand-built stone manholes, which the grout's gone at this point, or the joints are broken, or you have cracks. So you have a lot of water coming through the manholes themselves, and then you have breaks in the laterals and the sewer mains. Again, most of the sewer pipes in the borough are clay. So clay is like glass, it's strong until it gets a small crack in it. And once it gets a small crack in it, it becomes very brittle. Your former manager liked to say there's 2 types of clay pipe, the kind that's broken and the kind that's going to break. So clay is a very outdated technology. We replace it now with plastic pipe, thick plastic pipe, has a lifespan of 100 years. So nobody in this room is going to see that thing fail. So the borough has a great program where they allow property owners to piggyback on the contract. So this will all be out of contract. And we, as an alternative or an alternate in the contract package, we get costs for the contractor to replace private sewer laterals as well. Okay. The borough would front the money as part of the contract, and they would have a private agreement with the property owners to pay back, and I'm not sure what the agreements say, but to pay back the borough over a certain amount of time. Benefits of that are private homeowners don't have to try to find a contractor. It used to be the yellow pages, now you Google, try to find a contractor that's reputable, try to find one that's insured. Go through the process of how do you inspect it. Most homeowners probably don't know how to inspect a sewer pipe installation. The timing could be difficult. Contract, you're not going to have a contract with the bonds, the insurances, certainly the legal kick behind it that the borough's contract will have. That's the benefit of piggybacking on the borough's contract. What they provide is an opportunity, if you choose, borough will televise your lateral at no cost to you. So as I mentioned, the borough has a televising equipment, and they can stick the camera down your clean out. And it's great quality. I just saw one, like I said, a couple of days ago. And we can identify any problems that you have. If you have roots, we can see it. If you have breaks, we can see it. If you have sags, which is where the pipe may settle, and that'll cause backups because where it settles, solids will settle and it back up to your house. So as it says, the borough, if you choose, will televise your lateral for you, and this is along the construction project, so this is North Main Street over. They'll do that and we'll identify if you have problems, and if you have any problems, we'll let you know. And then we'll give you the opportunity to join up with the contract and have your lateral replaced. Okay, do you want to get into details of how they do that? Can they sign up tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want, anybody who's here who's along North Main Street, if you want to sign up tonight, you can do that to allow the borough to televise your lateral. Or you can contact Katie, sitting right there. There's her contact information. Contact Katie, we can discuss it further. You can certainly talk to Jamie, Steve, myself. They have my phone number certainly. And we can talk you through the project if you want. And that goes for any of this. If you have any questions on any of this, contact anybody at the borough or contact myself. I have cards up here if you want, or they can give you my contact information. Try not to spend too much time, but I know there's a Q&A period at the end. So if you have any questions at the end, you're all night, just ask away. That concludes my part. Jamie?
Great, thank you, Chad. I'm back and going to talk about some traffic study updates that we have done in 2022 and 2023 for Hatfield Borough. If you live on Vine Street, Broad Street, Townhall Center, Blaine Avenue, we have recently completed a traffic study. Hatfield Borough has had some concerns from residents about traffic on these streets and the speeding of traffic on these streets. So we did traffic studies. So I'm just going to go over some of the results for you. If you did not know, Pennsylvania is the only state in the country that does not allow radar. That is a legislative decision. So Hatfield Borough and Hatfield Township Police Department cannot use radar for detection for speeding. They have to use a different program, which actually allows travelers to go a little bit above more than, if you think 6 miles per hour and you're going to get a ticket. That's kind of what we've always been told in the past. Actually, travelers can go 11 miles an hour over the speed limit before they can give them a ticket. It's just because we don't have radar. So talking about West Vine Street, as you can see, there is 69% of vehicles traveled under 30 miles per hour on West Vine Street. That is eastbound if you're going towards South Main Street. Westbound towards Hatfield Road, which is the outgoing vehicles, 61% of them traveled less than 30 miles per hour. All speeds in Hatfield Borough are 25 miles per hour. On West Broad Street, if we're going westbound, if we're going out towards Hatfield Road, out towards 40-foot Road, we're going into Hatfield Township. 79% of vehicles were traveling less than 30 miles per hour. Eastbound towards South Main Street, outgoing vehicles, 83% of vehicles were going less than 30 miles per hour. Per these studies, on Vine Street, the average speed for eastbound traffic was 26.94 miles per hour, and the average speed westbound on Vine Street was 28.67 miles per hour. That's way within the threshold of the 25 miles per hour. Even if you would use radar, you would still be under the 6 miles per hour that you technically can go over. On West Broad Street near Wayne Avenue intersection, the average speed westbound was 25.45 miles per hour. And the average speed eastbound was 24.74 miles per hour. And as I said, all borough roadways are posted 25 miles per hour. And per this study, the numbers show that overall the drivers are obeying the posted traffic control signs. We'll move on to Townhall Avenue. And that study took place in 2023. So between January 27th and February 15th, the traffic was monitored on Townhall Avenue. And northbound going towards 40-foot Road, we used a threshold of less than 40 miles per hour, and that was 99.34% of vehicles were going less than 40 miles per hour. On southbound, we're coming in off of the shoot off on 40-foot Road down towards Main Street. And 97.63% of vehicles were traveling less than 40 miles per hour. We will move on to Blaine Avenue. That is the one-way street just up from Casey's. And that was between February 15th and March 10th. A traffic study was performed on Blaine Avenue. That's the one-way street within Hatfield Borough. And motorists were seen, 100% of motorists were seen less than 40 miles per hour on Blaine Avenue. So there was, example, no speeding on either of Palmenton Avenue or Blaine Avenue, despite, I know it might look like when you're standing on the side of the road, that it looks like they're going faster than they are, but these are the studies that came in from the Hatfield Township Police Department. Moving on for 2023 events, I just wanted to highlight some things that are going on in Hatfield Borough. We have a lot of great events that we put on. Earth Day is rescheduled for this Saturday. That is from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can meet outside the borough office. We'll do park cleanup. We have a movie night coming up August 24th at 7:30 p.m. That takes place at Centennial Park. And we have a Fall Fest and Car Show September 23rd, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. That is on East Lincoln Avenue. Some non-borough community events that are coming up is the Hatfield Legion puts on the Memorial Day Parade, May 29th, and that starts at 9 a.m. at Memorial Park. The parade goes down East Broad, West Broad, turns left on Coppell, and you end up at the American Legion for a really nice ceremony. The Christmas tree lighting is December 2nd, and that has been taken over by Grace Lutheran Church. That's always a nice community event for everyone to attend. And I did want to highlight, Hatfield Borough is celebrating our 125th anniversary this year. We are going to be celebrating that on Saturday, June 17th at Centennial Park from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. We have a ton of great things for children to do, carnival games, inflatables. We'll have merchandise for purchase, which is also available for purchase downstairs at Cash and Carry if you're interested in t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats to celebrate our 125th. All those funds are put back to pay for the 125th anniversary. So we're not making any profit off of that. The money is strictly going to pay for the 125th anniversary event. We're going to have local officials, local state representatives there. If you have any questions, check out our Facebook page. You can email Lindsay. She would be happy to answer any questions. We're going to have some great vendors. Before you leave this evening, there are free mouse pads, free pens in the back, reminders for the event. It's always great to know what Hatfield Borough and how you can communicate with us and what's going on inside our municipality. So I just wanted to highlight information resources for us. If you're into social media or you have social media, we have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter account, we have an Instagram account, we have a YouTube account, and that is where all of our council meetings and planning commission meetings, that is where this meeting, they're all video recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. So if you're not able to make our council meetings, which start at 7 p.m., you can go to the Borough YouTube channel and you can watch our council meetings. If you have questions, you can surely submit them to admin@hatfieldborough.com. We'd be happy to get any answers for you. I wanted to highlight that we do have a new Borough Informer. We've had 2 editions of this Informer. So if you were familiar with the past Informer, it was just more of a pamphlet. This is more of a magazine. It has really great articles of what's going on in the borough. The History Society adds some historical information and historical articles to that. This Informer that's coming up, it'll be out in May, is going to highlight our wonderful Public Works Department and everything that they do for Hatfield Borough. So it's just a really great read. If you see it in your mailbox, please take a look at it. And lastly, I wanted to say the new borough office hours. If you aren't familiar, the borough office is now open 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. On Wednesdays, we're open 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. We, Hatfield Borough Council has decided to stay open until 6 p.m. to accommodate those that are working. Before it was always hard to get in by 4 o'clock. A lot of people are moving into the borough, paying electric and sewer bills. So we are now open until 6 o'clock on Wednesday nights. And Friday, we are open 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. But staff is to come in at 8 a.m. every day and we start answering the phone. So if you call at 8 a.m., we will be here and we will answer the telephone. Visit our website at hatfieldborough.com. And be alert, be informed, Ready Monco. I'm not sure if everybody's up to date with Ready Monco, but Ready Monco is an alert system put up by Montgomery County. So if you have accessibility to a computer email, if you have a cell phone, if you have a landline, Ready Monco can communicate with you any updates that are going on in Hatfield Borough, emergency wise. So if there's a power outage, you will get a text message to your phone. If there's a road closure, you will get a text message to your phone. If you don't have a cell phone, you will get an email. You will get a telephone call to your landline. All you have to do is search Ready Monco on Google, or you can go to the website. There's a great YouTube video that tells you how to sign up. So if you're not signed up, that's how we communicate right now with our residents. We are looking to enact a communications committee in the near future, and the communications committee, one of their tasks is going to be, how can we communicate better with residents? Is that an app? Is that a mass mailing? What does that look like? I'm sure we'll put out some type of survey and take into consideration what everybody says. What our goal is with council and staff is, we just want to be transparent. We want to let you know what's going on in the borough, and we want to let you know in a timely manner. So if you have questions, if you want to know what's going on, Ready Monco is the place to go to get quick, up-to-date information. Next is the Q&A section. We'll take any questions that you have, but before we take that, I just wanted to highlight, as you can see tonight, Hatfield Borough Council, Mayor, staff, and our consultants are really committed to providing great services for you, updating our infrastructure, but keeping our costs down. We know that costs are rising throughout the country, and we are really trying to work hard to give you a balanced budget with not many increases, but still be able to provide you $1 million infrastructure projects, great electrical updates for reliability. And I just wanted to highlight tonight that I think the council, the staff, and our consultants do a great job. And we couldn't do it without our team. And if you have any questions about this evening, we'd be happy to take them right now. Myself, Chad, and Steve will answer any questions about our topics tonight, or any questions in general that you have about the borough or anything going on. And thank you for coming. Any questions? Okay, Butch.
Do we have an idea yet where the traffic's gonna go for the Broad Street project?
Yeah, Chad.
Detour plans. And I actually anticipated that question. I brought detour plans here. So I'll explain to you so everybody can hear it, but certainly if you want afterwards, call it up. So when East Broad Street the work will be done, I'm sorry, West Broad Street first. When the work on West Broad Street will be done, the detour will go down South Main Street to Orville Road and then to Welsh Road. So keep in mind, whenever you detour on a state road, a PennDOT road, the detour has to go on other state roads. So now when you do work on a borough road, you can go anywhere you want. State road detours have to stay on state roads. So that was West Broad Street. On East Broad Street, the detour is Bethlehem Pike 309 to Orville Road and then to South Main Street. And then obviously anybody around here, you're going to find your own way around, but that's where the detour signs will be directing everybody else. Work on North Main Street, when that work's done, the detour is Fairground Road to Elroy Road to West Broad Street. If that makes sense. And again, I'll leave these up here. Feel free to come on up afterwards.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It might be a break to chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we had the drawing shows on West Broad Street where the cone is and the street's sinking. Just past that picture, we have our alley shut down. They have it blocked off. And that's been that way for several years, 4 years. So we're not sure, we can't use our alley to go all the way down. So everything comes back and forth in our alley. Our alley's completely destroyed. What's gonna happen when we get on the road there and they're ready to open up the alley again? The alley's shot. We've maintained it all these years. The borough's never come down and do anything in that alley. And now the last year, they come in and they drop dirt in a pothole that's been created by all the trash trucks and whatnot. We got big gullies, just like East Broad Street has, we have in our alley that we never had before.
Money we put into it is gone. And actually the pack that they put on seems to cause more damage. As heavier trucks go over there and they spread it out and so.
It's
It's
just getting worse.
We do not know whether it's the fact that's causing it, but there's steady and visible deterioration of the alley. Where you literally have to kind of do a slalom to kind of move to avoid potholes going down there.
I understand what you're saying. I can't say I have an answer for you tonight. That's a discussion that's gonna have to happen at another time, another location, but
It's like the alley's not the sinkhole. The sinkhole's on West Broad.
Right.
But West Broad's still open. But we can't come out onto that road, but a tractor trailer can come down West Broad Street, right over where the sinkhole is. I don't understand.
I will say, I know it was closed for a reason, and Steve knows, and I know was with our previous management. So I'm gonna ask Steve to talk about it real quick.
Yeah,
Chad can chime in anytime.
Yeah, I've been highly involved in this whole thing since day one. Where the alley is closed, if you see there's a couple cones that are just in terrible condition because they've been there so long. There's a hole right there right where the alley exits onto the roadway. So we shut it down for the overall safety of everybody trying to exit there. Because the more vehicles, especially trash trucks, that come through there is just gonna worsen that hole, and we don't know what the public safety concern would be at that point. How much worse is that little hole that's maybe the size of a basketball at this point?
The canopy stretches underneath into the street,
Yes,
West Cross Street.
yes.
It's not on the sidewalk or.
But the reason it was shut down was because of the hole that was started right at the entrance of that alley, closer to the Circa rubber building. So the more vehicles that come out of there is gonna make that hole increase in size at a faster rate. So we don't want to see that increase, and then somebody tries to pull out of there and the hole opens up larger and you see these sinkholes like you see in the city that swallow up a car. So
But I'm
that
not
was.
worried about that with the traffic going back and forth on West.
Right, we're not so much worried about that because the traffic is not along the gutter line, along the curb. So you don't see the cars driving up and down the curb necessarily tight to the curb. That's where the pipe is. I mean, we can go out and line that whole thing with cones, but you don't see, they stick more towards the middle of the road where the pipe isn't there. The pipe is more towards the curb line.
Okay, so you've been here with the previous manager and everything else, same as we were, we talked with him.
Yep.
What happens with our alley? Like we.
Like
started
Chad
to
said,
do.
that's a discussion we'll have to have, and we'll have to get back to you on that.
Regarding the same project, I noticed that there was funding in 2019, the amount of like $400 something change. And we are awaiting money from 2022 and from those two things as well as the borough to finish the project. What if that money doesn't come? Does the entire thing, the broad main project, stall? Or can it be split up that we utilize whatever the 500, close to $600,000 change can be used to alleviate the situation on West Broad Street?
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
So, Hatfield Borough's plan is, and, anyone can chime in, that if we get the grant funding, the project is moving forward. If we don't get the grant funding, the project is moving forward. We are hoping to get the grant funding because it's an extra additional $800 and some $1,000 that we would have to somehow create revenue for. So we are crossing our fingers and our toes that we get this grant funding. We have tremendous support from Representative Malagary and Senator Gillette, who got us our first grants, but if it doesn't happen, we have to move the project forward. So we're going to move forward no matter what. Yeah, go ahead.
How much overestimate was this project that caused it to move 1 year?
Oh, how much did it increase?
Yeah,
1.6.
what was the budgeted amount and what is the overage?
yeah,
1.6.
yeah, so there's a couple of things you have to keep in mind. The borough always has an expense. These grant programs, they don't pay 100% of the project. So in round numbers, 15% is roughly the matching funds that are required. In this case, there was a certain limit to how much the borough could ask for. So the borough was always going to be spending money on this project. It was never going to be 100% guaranteed. The costs have gone up. I'm not gonna say double, but close to double, maybe 2/3 on top of what was originally estimated. And again, a lot of that is because of COVID and because of the cost of materials.
That's in terms of percentage, but in terms of actual dollars,
I
do we
don't.
have an estimate?
1.6.
Originally it was 1.6, now it's 3. Like 3.
Yeah, so it's almost double. So say it went up 1.5 or so.
We had estimated at 1.5 or
No, so, I don't know. Okay. The original cost for the road before, prior when we were gonna do it in 2019, prior to COVID, was estimated $1.6 million. The project now, after COVID, is estimated around $3 million. So that's the increase, and that's why Hatfield Borough Council, last year had said, we don't wanna put this additional 800 and some $1,000 on our residents or the borough for revenues. We have to be good stewards of our money and go back out for another grant. That meant pushing the project off a year. And that was a tough decision. That was it wasn't easy for us, but I know being a good steward of tax dollars, we just pushed it off a year. But I know council, and I don't want to speak for them, they can chime in and the mayor, like, we need to have this project done. We want to have this project done. We just have to have the funding for it, and we're gonna move forward no matter what.
And don't consider these final numbers because they aren't. The 2019 numbers, they were based on estimates of approximate lineal foot of pipe and approximate number of structures and approximate, impacts that we would have to repave. The 2019 numbers were based on prior to any design or survey being done whatsoever. They were estimates because that's what you need to do for grants. You're not going to spend a ton of money putting together a design if you don't know you have the funding. The numbers that we're estimating now are based on our design with whole bid package done. And putting current day, present day numbers that we're receiving from other contracts, other projects that we're receiving real bids on. And when I put those numbers together, I use the average bids, the average bid costs. So if I use the low bids, maybe we'll come in under, but we don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen a year from now or when the bids, come in. We just don't know. So all we can do is use the best estimates that we can, and that's the numbers that we have with that.
It's a public alley,
I'm sorry?
the alley behind it, is that a public alley then?
What alley?
Behind,
the 40-foot road where you're replacing this stormwater drain. He's asking if it's a private alley or if it's a public. Yes,
I'm not sure which alley you're
to
talking.
the left of the blue line, right?
across from Vinnie's.
Across from Vinnie's, there's a series of houses.
Oh, those there.
Yep,
Yep,
you see that private
greenhouse is
alley?
there, then we shut the road on.
That alley there?
It's not borough owned alleys.
We have the alley shut off.
We don't own any alleys.
Can you see?
I'm sorry. Hatfield Borough does not own any alleys as far as like dedicated roads. We have no ownership of them. We have easements in certain alleys for things like electric and sewer. So I think, and I'm pretty sure in this alley, we do have an electrical easement for the underground electric
Yeah.
and for the sanitary sewer.
There was also this private options to share with like the sewers. And that was available to the North Main Street. Is that available to any other part of the borough also, or no, it's strictly limited to the North Main Street?
The borough provides that opportunity along properties where they're doing the sewer main replacement. So every time, and the borough's done a number of sewer main replacements and pretty much every year where we're looking at doing them. So anytime the borough does a public sewer main replacement, all the houses that connect to that sewer main are provided this opportunity.
So residents of other areas probably cannot participate in that.
Correct, correct, because the contract that the borough is putting out the bid doesn't include that area of the borough, or that section of pipe.
If we're gonna move forward with the grant or without the grant, why are we gonna wait to bid?
because we can't do any work on the project, or else it'll void the grant if the grant's awarded.
Okay. I don't understand.
Yeah, I should have explained that. I'm sorry.
Maybe one observation about the speeding stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. It's open forum, yeah.
You're way off. The place where, the place where Benny's
Yes,
is the area where the 35 mph zone comes to a 25 mph zone.
correct. Yeah, right when you're going into
Yeah,
the borough from the
But the
township.
area that was monitored was Wayne Avenue, which was much further where the road narrows. Has anybody ever considered monitoring that area at Vinnie's, which is a much broader road that people sometimes attempt to slow down and they don't until they reach the curb before they reach Wayne Avenue. Because that's where the majority of the speeding happens. People exiting, coming from the traffic light, usually they will be careful because the road is narrow and it's 35 mph. But once they hit that curb, they know there's a 35 mph speed limit there. They know they can go 45. They will be traveling 40 past Vinnie's, 40, 45.
Sure. So, I know when we did the study and the police did the study, they put the radar more down towards what you were saying, Wayne Avenue. I know there's, a digital sign out there by Vinnie's where you're talking about. Public Safety Committee meets, more than quarterly and would be happy to talk to the police department. The mayor is on that, Councilmember Cresser is on that, and ask them to do a speed study and maybe move it up to that section to do their concerns with coming in from the 35 to the 25. If we request it, they will oblige and they will do it. So when we can clarify that it might be more beneficial to do it when you're coming into the borough, right where Vinnie's is and you're dropping from the 35 to the 25, because residents along that I want to say that section of houses across from Vinnie's are concerned with speeding. I believe a study is going to be done, anyway, or around the time of that area, because that's where the crosswalk is going to be. And we have PennDOT, we originally wanted to put the crosswalk at Vinnie's across the middle, because when you're coming around that bend off Coffell Road and there's gonna be a crosswalk with kids and the speed, we were concerned about that. PennDOT does not like mid-block crosswalks, so we're in a discussion with them. I actually have a meeting with them on Monday to see if we can leave it at Vinnie's because of the possible speeding issues right there, and we're dropping down. So I know that our traffic engineer and the police department will be focusing on that area, so maybe we can get a better look at those statistics right in that area.
People used to fear when the alley was open. Sometimes the police car will be hiding at the end of the alley.
Yeah.
So people would be careful. No, they know there's no policeman coming over there.
Yeah.
They just start racing.
And we can also, the mayor has asked for a selective enforcement in other areas around the borough. Blaine Avenue, just for example, was one of them. We can certainly send an email to Lieutenant Robertson and ask for select enforcement in that area and say, in the past, they've been on that side of Tomlinson Avenue, like right where Hatfield Township is, and just ask if they can do some select enforcement in that area while we're waiting to do like an official study. That's not a problem at all.
Just one, I know I'm speaking too much.
Go ahead.
No, no.
Just one observation.
Yeah.
It was with pride that you said that outages, electrical outages have come down, and then you listed 2019, 21, 22, 23. And 23, you probably mentioned there was one, but the one was a good 4 hours, and it wasn't even a third of the year, the tax, or maybe a quarter of the year. If we go at that rate, you're looking at like 3 to 4 outages. And yet we have like these infrastructure projects going on for the electricity upgrade. I know I didn't follow up on it, why there was a 4-hour outage, but may I seek a clarification, what caused that huge?
Which one were we talking about now? Do you remember which year?
No, this year.
Oh, the one this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the swirl. So at our site next to Mom's, what we call it, like our interconnect PP&L. There, out of the 500 poles that are inside Hatfield Borough, it picked the one pole that could take out the entire town. So there's metering equipment on this pole that is owned by PP&L. So they're called CTs and PTs, current transformers and power transformers. They measure the power coming in from PP&L to Hatfield Borough so that they can bill us for the power that comes across their lines. those were not protected with any animal guards. I have been on the phone with countless people from PP&L, even offering that we will buy the cover. We will buy the material for them to install, because we're not allowed to touch those devices because they're owned by PP&L. And obviously it's for the metering, so they don't want us to touch their devices in case there's any chance that we could mess something up and throw off the readings on the power usage that we're using. So I've even offered to buy, like I will buy it myself, not me personally. We, Hatfield Borough will buy it if PP&L will agree to install it. And I think we're getting headway, but it's taking some time. So it was like a 1 in 500 chance of that situation happening. But we are trying to address that moving forward to try to prevent this situation from happening again.
Kill all the squirrels.
You don't, I can't say in a public meeting my solution. PETA won't like it. Anything else?
Yeah, I knew.
Mr. Renner.
Yes, Mr. Renner.
As far as that, the lateral, the inspection for their laterals, you're gonna be putting in a new pipe anyway, so isn't that gonna be kind of like part of the deal, whether it passes the camera inspection or not?
So what we're doing, what we are doing, regardless of what any property owners along North Main Street would like to do, is we are replacing the main that goes through the middle of the road.
Okay.
All the manholes, all the castings, everything within the road, and we are replacing the lateral from the main to roughly the back of the sidewalk.
Okay,
That is the roughly back of the right of way where our responsibility is. So we have the responsibility for the sewer lateral from the main to the right of way line. So what we're trying to do is televise the lateral from the clean out
mhm,
to the house and from the clean out to the right of way line. And just give the televising the actual video footage to the property owners and a written report on our findings on it. So that way they can make the choice on whether they think it would be a good idea for them to replace
right,
from the right of way to the house.
okay,
And when we say to the house, it's kind of, it's up to the homeowner how far they want to go. If there's landscaping right up against the house, if there's private sidewalks or hardscaping or things that they don't want disturbed, we stop where the homeowner wants us to stop. And the homeowner would pay for the footage of the pipe that actually goes in the ground.
do you have any idea what that cost is?
Not at this time,
Okay,
not until we actually send it out to bid. They will have an itemized price of the private work. And we can come up with a rough price estimate at that
Okay.
time.
yeah, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Does the homeowner have to let you know ahead of time, well, obviously, that they want the video, or is it gonna be done anyway?
No,
Okay.
yes. Ms. Vlahos here would be more than happy to take down your information. At this point, what we're looking to do is get authorization to come onto your property to televise.
Okay.
Because the little, like Jamie said, the mushroom cap, the little pipe that sticks up in your yard, that's where we gain entry. So we don't like to just walk onto people's property and start sticking cameras in your pipes without you knowing about it or agreeing to it. So all we're looking to do is get people to say, yes, we give you permission to come onto our property and video our lateral. And that's all we're looking to do at this point.
Gives you a chance to change your dogs out.
Any other questions? Okay, well, hearing none, we thank you again for coming this evening. If you have any questions, my card is on the back table, Steve's is on the back table, Chad's is up here. You can hang around, look at the detour plans if you're interested in it. Katie's here if you want to participate in the sewer lateral program. And again, thank you for coming out this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.